This week's episode is brought to you by Rock, Paper, Scissors. You know, where rock beats scissors, beats paper, beats rock, beats scissors, beats paper, beats rock. 3 hours later. Or like when Accel beats Protect, beats Force, beats Accel, beats Protect. 10 hours later. Where rock beats scissors, beats paper, beats lizard, beats Spock. Welcome to Nexus at Night, the only podcast that is both the cure for and cause of stomach ulcers. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm barely paying attention.
Of course he is. This was your idea, this episode.
I know, right?
Okay, good job. You're like the guy who's like, I know what our group project's going to be on, and then they're like, are you going to help? Nah, never.
Why would anyone help?
I don't know.
You might have to actually do work that way.
Yeah,
I know.
But like we have a podcast where we're supposed to be like competent hosts or something.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a funny joke. You're a great comedian.
Oh yeah, Oh wait, no, this is a week in advance. So I had a show last week in San Diego at the Madhouse Comedy Club. If anybody saw me there, I hope you enjoyed yourself. Now,
the marvelous Mr. Novak.
Oh my god. Alright, so today we're talking more about the rock, paper, scissors dynamic that is supposed to be happening with the imaginary gifts. Now, in Vanguard, 14 clans have been released in Japan.
Yep.
And how many of each thing are currently available to play?
What do you mean currently available to play?
Well,
How many clan of each gift is available at the moment?
Exactly.
Oh!
Yeah.
That's actually a great question. Were there like 4 Accel clans?
So you have Murakumo,
Yes.
Pale Moon, Tachikaze, Nova Grappler, Aqua Force.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 5. Force, you have Royal Paladin,
Royal,
Shadows,
Spikes, and DP.
Yeah, so that's 5. And then Protect, you have Grand Blue, Dark Irregular, Oracle Think Tank.
Mega Colony?
Meta
Did you say that?
Yeah, I didn't say Meta Colony. So that's 4. So you have 5, 5, and 4. So that's a fairly balanced assortment of gift types, especially considering that there's, I believe, total going to be, I think it's like, it's 10 Force, 8 Accel, 6 Protect. Once everything's said and done. So I think this is probably a good crossroads to kind of check in and see what the deal is, because at the start of the game, Accel has been mostly underpowered, despite being in a vacuum the best gift, and Protect is overpowered, despite being the worst gift, on paper, in a vacuum. I cannot stress that enough times, because I guarantee you there's going to be people that being like, yeah, but OTT is the best clan, why isn't Protect the best gift? Okay.
So that's a good description of the initial reaction we had on the gifts. Is we basically were like, hey, we immediately said that Accel seemed very powerful out of the gate, and it would be interesting to see how they develop that mechanic. But we did express concern about them overcorrecting that, right?
Yeah.
And we just kind of hoped it wouldn't happen, but it did anyway. And then Protect, we were like, well, we don't really know how to navigate, talking about Protect until we see finishers. And then even those were kind of hard to navigate, on release. You're like, well, just how good is this? Sometimes, you need game context to tell. And, Promised Daughter or Imperial Daughter did do a lot. We knew the card was, pretty good, right? They showed it. Everyone was like, Jesus fucking Christ, it has so many words. And it turns out it plays well, which is cool. And, Amatros also looked good. Some things.
And then the deer.
And then Force, we were like, well, Force just seems good.
Yeah. Well, they said that Force was going to be good offensively and defensively, and we didn't know what the second part meant until they started revealing cards.
And then that was that, because Force has higher base power, it makes things easier to guard.
Right.
So the rock, paper, scissors dynamic that Bouchard was going for was that Accel beats Protect because the multi-attacking nature of having multiple front row, rear guard circles, and also things like Nova Grappler, Aqua Force, etc., would overwhelm Protect's, Protect gifts, which cause you to use 2 cards to guard with. Force would beat Accel because having a higher base stat total makes the multi-attacks easier to guard with individual cards, and Protect would beat Force as the limited attacks of the Force gift would make it so that the perfect guards didn't care how big your rear guard or vanguard circle was.
Right.
And is this true, you think? Like,
so no. Straight up no. So
Kind of, but not in theory it does, but not in practice, is what I would say.
So technically, if Bushiroad designed cards in a way that each clan got equivalent quality cards, then it would probably work out that way. However, that is not the case. You look at clans like Aquaforce has several cards which I think are outstanding, and then a bunch of cards which are medium, and a bunch of cards which are bad. Like, I think Aquaforce has 2 cards which I would consider like just outstanding.
What are those?
Algos and what's his name?
Tidal Assault?
Yeah.
No, Tidal Assault isn't even that good.
No, not Tidal. The other one. The other one.
Can you describe what it does?
I guess maybe I'm just thinking of Algos. Maybe it's just the second Algos.
I was thinking of Algos twice. That was it.
I was thinking of Algos. Definitely wasn't Tidal. Like, Tidal's like medium, right?
Yeah.
But like Algos is like the really only card that Aquaforce has that's like threatening. In any way, shape, or form.
Is it Riptide? Are you thinking of Riptide?
Is kind of bad.
Riptide is a pretty good card for being a meme.
Yeah, I mean that card exists.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like I think Riptide is good. I just don't think it's like outstanding, I guess.
We should just
But the problem is there's nothing to like abuse these other than like what they do, right? Like Navel Gazer is fine. Maelstrom is bad.
Although I think that can change with that promo they revealed. Makes it better. But
I think people are starting to switch to consensus that like Maelstrom is arguably better than Navel Gazer because Navel Gazer just kind of does Perfect Riser, and we've already seen that Perfect Riser doesn't work.
Well, but it's half a Perfect Riser, so it's easier to actually do.
I feel like this is a thing
which is relevant.
Yeah,
but I think Maelstrom, even when switching, is still not great.
Yeah. Anyway, so
like Maelstrom's just expensive, really.
Yeah, and like he makes you have to play the deck differently.
Yeah, so I think because of the poor card quality of Aquaforce Say, then I think it kind of or even Nova Grappler, or any of these things. It makes this triangle. It makes this rock paper scissors game not work. And if you look at the card quality of OTT, like so much of that deck is just kind of insane. Like you have this clan whose gimmick is drawing cards and or messing with the top of the deck in a format where hitting triggers is really important.
And then also, it's just greater than the sum of its parts. Like if you hit any one thing on OTT, I don't think it would cripple the deck outright. There's no one problem card, in my opinion.
Yeah, say.
Yeah, there's just so much bullshit in that deck. So like the deck, the reason OTT I think is just still the best, even now, is just it just has too many good cards where other clans just don't have that kind of support. And I know that every clan has one set, right? But that means like if one clan has 6 good cards and one clan has 7, that's a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, this can change with the Magus stuff that comes, in 2019.
I mean, OTT can't get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that
they can
everything
just
else
stay where
get
they
better.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the things that are supposed to oppose OTT is Accel, and then yes, Nova Grappler and Aquaforce are in theory good matchups against it, but the problem is that with Accel decks, it's hard to gain the resources needed to fill the Accel circles you're making, which Bushiroad kind of
also
intended.
You have to high roll the fuck out of your opponent.
Yeah.
Like, you have to actually high roll your opponent every game.
I think the lack of ride consistency really hurts just standard format in general, which is kind of another thing that makes OTT is really, really strong, is that because you're seeing more cards.
Mm-hmm. Or 2 decent rides, I guess. Well, one really good ride, I guess, first.
Yeah.
And then, every other ride from then on is just great.
Well, let's compare this to other decks where they're, like you want to ride one grade 3 and then the other. If you ride Waterfall first, it's not going to do anything for you.
Yeah.
If you ride Skull Dragon first, okay, that doesn't do much for you either, and you're probably going to die, I'll be honest. If you ride Deathridge first, you're going to die. If you ride Great Tayusha first, you're going to die. But riding Imperial Daughter first is not any sort of a death sentence, and
you can actually just full charge a grade 3, can't you? Like, you just be like, oh, whoops.
Yeah.
And you're just like, sucks, bro.
Well, that's more in the case of Kagero, because a Daughter has to ride over the grade 3, not just the... with the Deer. The Deer can Soul Blast 3s, but...
Oh, yeah, my bad.
That'd be pretty wacky, though. Alright, Soul Blaster grade 3 that I just put in there, because fuck it.
The Deer is, like, real stupid.
I mean, the Deer, again, in a vacuum, isn't overly broken.
Well, it's slow, right?
Yeah, it's very slow.
Yeah.
And that's
if only there's a way to drag out the game.
Oh, you mean like a perfect guard that you get every time you ride? Oh, wait.
Mm-hmm.
I think another thing is that with Protect in general, if you watched our episode on like resources from God, I don't know how long ago, you might remember that we were talking about the concept of the ride minus, which is that in order to ride to the next grade, you lose the card in your hand. Whereas because the drive check is a God-given right, you don't gain those resources back by themselves until you start twin driving for a couple turns. Because of the Protect gift and the fact that you get a card in your hand, which is a tangible card that you can use as a perfect guard or as the cost for a discard or something, that is inherently very strong at negating your ride minus, versus something like a Force Gift or an Accel Circle, which you then have to fill to get the benefits from. Which also means that we might have been wrong in saying that Protect was the worst gift in a vacuum. Maybe.
Well, again, it Protect is the worst gift if there's no, like, context. Yeah. Like, the fact that OTT has kind of these inevitable, like, if the game goes long enough, OTT is like highly likely to win, right? Is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean that's supposed to be the case with any Protect gift. The longer you go, the more...
Right. But my point was we didn't have that context originally.
Yes, you're right.
But we can't just say like Protect isn't the worst gift because we know things that we don't actually know. Like,
I mean, well, I'm just saying that like I think the initial criticism we had of Protect gifts, that being not being outright pressure against the opponent, might need to be recontextualized.
Right. And I mean, we were careful to say, like, we kind of don't know how to evaluate this at the time.
Do we know how to evaluate it now?
No, like, when the gifts were first shown, we said, hey, we don't know how to evaluate this. But we do now. Because we see that Bushiroad is willing to give finishers to most Protect clans.
Yeah. And
I'm kind of ignoring Mega Colony here.
I mean, your finisher is Spark Hercules?
Spark Hercules is actually Spark Hercules is like pretty fine actually.
Yeah.
The problem is like it's not a finisher you can do like every fucking turn like you can with OTT.
Yeah. Or
like
the same thing with
Imperial Dot on your Vanguard.
Yeah.
And your opponent's like, well.
I think part of it is also the Antlion. Antlion is the thing that is like just compared to the Deer. The thing with the Deer is that the finishing aspect you get from it is not coming from the card itself, but the things that the card influences. So in the case of Antlion, it's you Soul Blaster grade 3, drop 2 cards, it gets 10k in a crit, and the opponent can't draw Sentinels. So you are losing the 2 cards, and the Soul Blasting the grade 3, that I assume that's going to be attached to every quote-unquote finisher. But because that only applies to the Antlion itself, that's pressure from 1 card. Compared to the Deer, which you Soul Blast 2 grade 3s, drop a card, check top 7, get 2 critical triggers, put the rest on the bottom, and then put the critical triggers on top. That means that the pressure... Oh, and give your field 10k, by the way, because fuck it. You now have pressure coming from all 3 of your circles. The Vanguard being able to put the crits wherever it wants to based on the opponent guarding. the rear guards having crits based on the opponent guarding, and also the fact that every column gets 20k, because fuck it. You know, like, Violence Flanger, yeah, okay, I can shut off guarding, but that's, 17k? And that's if I happen to have a 0-1 and a 2 in a hand. It takes so little resource, or it's got such a low cost to activate in terms of things happening. And sure, you might not hit the crits in the top 7, but I feel like the downside from that doesn't outweigh the upside compared to things like Antlion or Flanger, which you cannot keep up, aside from one turn.
I definitely want to see how they keep doing future Protect stuff. But, like, I feel... I feel like Accel clans still lack something. So I guess, should we talk about the one Accel clan which is performing?
Yeah, let's do that.
So there is one Accel clan now that is performing well, which is Murakumo.
You must be so happy.
I am very confused.
This took so long to happen.
Murakumo cards are, like, pretty weird. But Musashi's pretty fucking good, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So Musashi being if you have, what is it? It gets 5k
more.
left.
Yeah, if you drop 2 cards. So that's the Battle Door skill, where you have to drop 2 cards to guard it.
And what's the activation for that?
Does it just have, like, more regards than your opponent?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. That seems like a very easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's, I mean, in your Accel clan, right? So, like, like, you have more rearguard circles. It's, like, impossible for them to, like, have more than you most of the time. Like, it's going to be, like, 1 in 1,000 games where your opponent has more rearguard than you, probably. And Murakumo has a natural way to, like, or has a way to, like, actually add rearguards to circles randomly.
Yeah.
Which is rare for Accel clans, which I think is actually the biggest problem with Accel clans. Is that most of them don't have ways to put units on board other than calling from hand.
Yeah. Like
Nova
even
Grappler,
Pale Moon can't do that, and that's kind of, like, been my problem with Pale Moon, is like, alright, I'm soul charging a whole bunch. How do I build a board again? Alright, I still have to call from my hand.
Oh, you do? That sucks. I haven't really paid attention since I sold the deck, so...
we're just in this weird place where, like, they finally gave a Protect clan a way to call stuff that wasn't, like...
You mean an Accel clan a way to call stuff?
Yeah. Or, sorry, an Accel clan that can call stuff from deck, and that Accel clan ends up performing well. And you're like, well, is this surprising? Probably not.
Well, so we have to keep in mind Zanbaku and the ability to shut down the grade 3s.
Right. So then, Zanbaku's skill, which when it was first shown, everyone was already like, well, this is, like, actually, like, pretty decent if you can get it going. And it's not even just, like, so the stun skill, but also the not being able to ride. Not making, if OTT, let's say they ride, like, Imperial Daughter first ride because their hand sucks, or Deer first ride or something bad, right? Locking them on that Deer is, like, a pretty big game.
Yeah.
Well, you shut off the Protect gift. You shut off, if they ride Amaterasu next, you shut off a draw. If they ride Imperial Daughter next, you shut them off of a Soul Charge and or stack and a card in hand.
Well, them riding Amaterasu is probably the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
because that gives them stuff to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
But the other grade 3s just don't do anything. Without having another grade 3 under it.
Yeah.
So, locking them off rewriting is a really big deal. And, you know, if you're playing against Kagro and they have to ride a Waterfall first, locking them off future Waterfalls is also a big deal. I mean, they could still screw you somehow, but it's, like, you know, still relevant. Like, you're making grade 3s in their hand actually useless. Where in the Protect clans, especially, grade 3s can just be another perfect guard. And now you're saying, just kidding, they're actually nothing.
Yeah. And then...
Well, because
like,
also...
that's an attack they're not getting as well, and then that's less pressure on you.
Also, being able... The thing that creates the no rewrite skill is also something that gets you a card from deck to call. So you are killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Which
you're simultaneously plussing to board and stopping your opponent from doing bullshit.
Yeah. And
it's like...
If you happen to have the 2 arresters on board, then that also means that you can, like...
Oh, yeah, you can just... Like, I think at that point, you're, like, pretty likely to win the game if that happens to your opponent. Like, I don't know how many... I'm interested to know how many games people... Like, what people's win percentages after that happens in a game is. I assume it's very high.
Yeah.
I assume that's just so hard for your opponent to come back from. Because that's, like, essentially, like, a +4 or something ridiculous.
Okay, so let's say you get the card that's you get your arrestor that's +1. You lose the card in hand with the arrestor to shut them off from standing.
Right. So then your opponent loses 2 drive checks, but you also no longer have to guard your opponent's vanguard.
Yeah.
So like, because I assume if you're using this, you're at like some fairly high damage.
Well, yeah, because they had to give you 3 counterblasts to let it happen. Which, by the way, I really hope to the people out there who play Murakumo, don't let your opponent get 3 damage at a time, or face-up damage at a time.
Man, that's the best when people just like give you like just enough damage to do what you want to do, but where you're like still safe.
Yeah,
that's always nice.
So like, I'm gonna give you 3 damage, and you're like,
sure.
Well,
okay.
Especially if you have like a fairly important rear guard that you don't want to protect, but you need there, and they're like, I'm gonna attack your okay, yeah, sure. Leave my Crayon Tiger alone. All right, thanks. Thanks, buddy.
I mean...
Now I'm going to take all these damage you gave me, and I'm going to use it to destroy you.
Well, people constantly just either attack too many rear guards or attack not enough rear guards. It's just one of those dynamics.
Speaking of which, attacking rear guards, it seems that is supposed to be the solution against Accel clans, mostly Aquaforce and Nova Grappler. How good is it against Murakumo? Do you know?
Unclear. I don't actually...
I feel like you'd have to get... For Zanbaku, I feel like you'd have to be able to get rid of both arresters at once.
So you'd probably have to be able to retire one while attacking the other. Touch Kaze. Yeah. So I think we should also, in order to back up what we're saying, because for all you know, we could be 3 crazy people in their bedrooms talking into microphones. What?
I am exactly that, actually.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm wearing pajama bottoms, man. So why don't we take a look at like some tournament results? Because not only do we have the top 4 of a good amount of tournaments, we also have the clan distribution of the entire tournament, which means we got the full fucking sample size. Yeah. So, like the first thing I wanted to look at was the first Vanguard Okolab CS, which was a standard tournament. There were 33 players, and the top 4 was, in first place, OTT, second place, Murakumo, third place, Shadow Paladin, and fourth place, Kagero. So we had a healthy distribution of gifts in the top 3 there. So, and then for the clan distribution, you have 6 Shadow Paladin, 4 Royal Paladin, 4 OTT, 4 Kagero, 4 Aquaforce, 3 Pale Moon, 2 Murakumo, 2 DIs, 2 Dimension Police, 1 Nova Grappler, 1 Spike Brothers. So, yeah.
So, an important thing to note is that there were 4 Royal Paladin, and none of them were in top 4.
Yes.
They're one of the most popular clans, and they rarely top. What this says is that Royal Paladin consistently underperforms at events. And this has been true over many events, actually.
Yeah.
Where they've just been not being able to top, even at, like, big BWC for standard, where, of, like, 400 people. Consider, even 200-person events, like, Royals has been popular and still not topping. So when people say, so Royals is consistently underperforming. And as a player, especially, if you like winning events, this should tell you that you should probably stay away from Royal Paladin.
I mean, this... okay, well, they're hearing this episode after the Grade 4's episode, which means that Extol Pay is not a part of this sample size. So this is pre the release of the mini booster, as the mini booster just came out in Japan. So...
But in this event, Murakumo was only 2 of the 33 players.
And they're second place.
Yeah, and lost to OT.
That's overperforming.
Yeah, and it beat either a Kagero or a Shadow Paladin, right? Which people would expect to be bad matchups.
Yeah. And then
So
Shadow Paladin was quite popular, and one got into third, which we don't know the rest of the top 8, so it could have been.
I think that's about average for it's like probably close to average performance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shadow's very popular, Kagura is very popular, so.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like Shadows is performing decently right now.
Mm-hmm. Like, it definitely seems like the best decks right now are OTT, Shadow Paladin, Kagura, Murakumo.
Yeah.
At least from front lands in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And before we had like Kagura OTT as like the top 2 decks, and then like everything else was like fairly far behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, but they were the clear front runners. But after AL4, Shadow Paladin, has some very strong cards in the set, like PBD for example, and is performing. I think. I think Shadow Paladin looks good. I don't think it looks like oppressive. I just think it's good.
Also, for the record, we spent 2 episodes kind of ragging on Shadow Paladin, and they're doing quite well for themselves, despite the unkind landscape that I mentioned. But
I figured Shadow Paladin would be at least decent.
The cards are strong. Well, most of them.
Yeah.
Well, their triple R's are strong, or their high rarity cards are strong.
Yeah.
Well, also
spikes are low key meta, but only in
PBD
America.
was nuts. PBD was nuts, and they had some other cards.
Yeah. PBD was nuts, and they had some other cards. The official slogan of Shadow Paladin. Whether that's Dragon or Diablo is up to the format. But
to be fair, that's how Shadow Paladin always operates. So whatever.
Yeah. By the way, dollar for dollar, this makes Murakumo the strongest deck of this tournament because you had half of the decks getting into the top 4, half of the Murakumo players.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty good showing, especially when you sucked for the entirety of G-Era and before. So
sucked for most of your existence.
Murakumo was okay at BT09. Back when ride chains were a thing, if anyone remembers.
The Magatsu ride
But
chain.
in G-Era, they were really killed by the worst possible support anyone could ever give anyone. Like, Bushiro just refused to give Murakumo even playable cards. So, whatever.
Well, now they have like a very strong thing that does well against the top deck of the format in its win condition.
Yeah, I believe the consensus is that the matchup is favorable.
Yeah.
It's not like overwhelmingly good or anything like that. It's just pretty good. It's just
it's favorable if they're off Amaterasu. On Amaterasu, they could still maybe do some stuff to come back.
Right. So overall, I think it's slightly more than 50.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if it's even as high as which is a good place to be against the most popular deck in the game. Like you look at even English regionals, and we have like top 8s like 6 OTT in them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a nice smorgasbord of clans.
Should tell you how popular and good OTT is. I guarantee you 75% of the event is not OTT. This deck is still overperforming, even people knowing it's the best deck.
Well, here let's check out the second Cosmo VGCS. So this was a team tournament. There were 30 teams, so a total of 90 players. In first place, you had OTT, Dark Regulars, and Kaguro. In second place, you had Dimension Police, Dark Regulars, and Pale Moon. Third, Shadow Paladin, OTT, Kaguro. And fourth, Dark Regulars, Grand Blue, Kaguro. See a pattern yet? I think some vampires got in, and Kaguro.
A lot of Protect decks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Clan distribution: 19 Kaguro, 16 OTT, 13 Shadow Paladin, 10 Royals, 9 Dimension Police, 5 DIs, 4 Grand Blue, 3 Tachikaze, shed a tear for Tachikaze sucking, 3 Spike Brothers, 3 Pale Moon, 2 Murakumo, 2 Mega Colony, and a Nova Grappler.
The Tachikaze situation is really wild because the deck is another of these high roll decks in the weirdest possible way.
Yeah. Again, this is I bring it down to right consistency. I feel if you had an easier way to search Gigarex, it'd be less of a problem. But
I feel like this is that format where having some kind of generic way to search grade 3s could be beneficial to some clans, but then it would make other clans too good, probably.
Yeah.
See, this is what I liked about in G-Era, where you had the Stride Fodders being able to ditch a grade 3, get the one you want.
Right.
Or,
when they because in G-Era they made it necessary to ride the correct grade 3.
Yeah. And here too, there also seems to be a similar thing, except for I don't know,
Actually finding it.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, like, some decks have, 2 good grade 3s that if you ride the other one, it's not the end of the world. Like,
I'm just saying, if your Chronicles grade 3 has Chronojet in the name, I'm going to scream.
I just like the idea of, like, sometime down the road, I see the reveal, Chrono Dragon V-Series, and then on the other side of the country I can hear, ah! I like to entertain myself. Anyway, so, yeah, so there's a lot of, okay, out of the 12 players, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so half of the clans in the top 4 of all the teams were Protect clans.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty dope.
Yeah, Grand Blue is kind of also a weird beast because, again, the ride consistency issue is very real.
Yeah.
You pretty much only want to ever ride, what's his name, Baskart?
Baskart. But also you don't have to be rewriting Baskart to do things.
That's true.
So it's harder in the front end, but, like, easier on the back end, I think, to, like, do what you need to do.
Yeah. The matchups, like, in my... Oh, fuck. Like, in my head, I still don't know if it's, like, that favorable against Accel clans.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I think the thing is, like, it's not that good against Accel clan, but it's not bad enough for Accel to like, dominate.
It seems like almost a mid-range Protect deck. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I understand exactly what you mean. It's like this slow kind of defensive deck, but you're going to, like, probably lose to other Protect decks. Yeah.
For the most part, I don't really have a problem with Mega Colony, but in terms of playing it against OTT, it turns into this, like, race for how many times can I rewrite Bastard, because that's the only way I'm going to keep up.
Mm-hmm. Well, what it comes down to in those kind of situations is, like, how well, like, who has the better late game? Mm-hmm. And as it turns out, the answer
is OTT, single tier.
How many times have you died to deer though?
With Grand Blue, not that often. Usually when they go into the deer, I'm well prepared enough because against OTT I know to be conservative, and that I can just get them close enough where having a field of Flanger, Bastard, Stall Dragon is enough to turn after turn just wear them down. But again, you have to be rewriting the Bastards to get this to work.
Because it's your only way to get soul, really?
It's the only way to get soul and the only way to get protective so you can survive the deer. Yeah, so again, that makes it an unfavorable matchup because you have to do a specific thing to, get what you need to do.
Or they can just kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah. Then again, me and my friend Vince entered a fairly large bi-card tournament. It was like 35 people, something like that, and he ended up getting second place with Grand Blue, losing to Kagero in the last round, and he beat like 2 to 3 OTTs. So it's not a concrete system. What do you think?
Right. Well, I mean, in card games, like, one thing that, like, people do this thing where they're like, oh, that matchup's really easy, like, how did you lose? And you're like, well, there's this thing called variance.
Yeah.
That makes it so that no matchup is really like
100%.
Yeah, in card games, there are even very rarely 70-30 matchups of, like, top decks. Like, obviously, we're playing just absolute dog shit. Like, yeah, you can have some real bad matchups because you're playing dog shit. But if,
also, player skill has to be taken into account, too.
I mean, I'm assuming players are at a similar skill level. Because it makes it easier. But, like, assuming both players know how to play their fucking deck, which, again, is kind of a big question here. But then no matchup should really be 70-30.
Yeah.
Like, the most you're probably going to see is, like, 60-40 for, like, that's, like, a really bad matchup. Like, that's, like, a matchup you don't want to be on the other side on. Or in, like, maybe slightly unfavorable might be, like, 55-45 or, like, 58-42, like, just barely there.
Is this the case, like, just in Vanguard, or is this the case in, like, every TCG?
This is the case in every card game, because because there's variance, like, you just can't always win.
Yeah.
Like, you can always, like, everyone gets screwed in the same ways, especially in Vanguard, right? Like, the other deck can always just pick up wins by virtue of you not writing grade 3 on time.
Yeah. Well, especially.
And you can't just throw those games out as, like, oh, well, they're going to do it too, so I can throw it out. No, these are going to be part of your data.
Like, here's a good example of variance. So I was playing against an OTT player. This was one of my 2 losses of that day. So I got everything correct. I rode the Gigarex when I needed to. I got all my equip gauge things where I wanted them. I got, like, blight tops in the gauge, got it back, and then called a new one. And yet, the game went on to such a point where when it came time for him to deer, I then got my face kicked in because I had 7 cards left in my deck, and 3 of those were draw PGs. And you kind of need perfect guards to survive the deer in most cases. And I put that down to variance because, I did everything right. I, pressured him consistently, and yet it just didn't work out for me because OTT gonna OTT, and,
Can't win them all.
Oh, can't win them all, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got gored by deer horns.
Yeah, man, that happens.
Relating back to this particular VGCS, what do you think is the secret to Dark Regular's success? Because mostly what I've been paying attention to for DIs has been in Premium, with the enigmatic assassin loop that was so graciously shown in glorious visual aid by Living Proof on his YouTube channel.
That's Living Proof. I'm pretty sure he has the best Vanguard content on YouTube.
Ooh. I mean... Yeah.
By pretty sure, I mean I'm 100% sure, and it's not even really a competition.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
His stuff is so clean and so, like, well explained. Like, he just explains stuff really well, is willing to, like, take the long way to explain stuff instead of, like, saying it shorthand and, like, hoping everyone understands what he means. And so it's, like, pretty good for, like, new players and players who have been playing the game for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really enjoy his content.
Oh, man, that's like, I remember one time I saw a billboard for Game of Thrones here in LA, and it said, best TV show ever. I was like, well, then you kind of shut yourself off from, like, all future reviews. It's like, all right, it's a tour de force, sure, but is it the best TV show ever? Even
future TV shows?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it seems like they reviewed themselves into a corner.
Well, film and TV stuff on YouTube is definitely questionable a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. This is the place where people think film criticism is pointing out plot holes, when it's really just not.
Hashtag CinemaSins.
They're terrible. They're actually trash.
CinemaSins ruined me, because for a long time I'd go to the movies and just be looking for shit to point out. I'm like, this is not actively making you enjoy the movie more. This is just...
Well, CinemaSins... Okay, there's some links you need to watch about CinemaSins. They're by one of my favorite YouTubers named Sean.
His name's just Sean?
It's just Sean.
Just some dude named Sean. How lucky is he? He's like S-E-A-N. Oh, fuck yes.
He has it spelled properly.
S-H-A-W-N.
Oh, man, like Sean Green.
Sure. Anyway.
That was my favorite baseball player growing up. Anyway.
Alright, so anyway. CinemaSins is trash, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay, well, anyway, so back to the thing I was saying. Dark Irregulars in Standard, what do you think is good for them?
Big numbers, guard restrict.
Yeah, I guess. But is it even better than, like, anything else any other Protect clans are doing? And by any
I don't think
Grand
so.
OTT? Like, it just feels worse than what you can be doing there, right?
Yeah. I mean,
like, Dark Irregulars is, like, has awful card quality.
I think another thing that, like, what's making it work is because your main grade 3 is also the thing that sets up your finisher. So it would be like if you attacked on Deer's skill to Imperial Daughter, sort of. Because it puts on pressure by the, like, Soul Charge gets big power. And then afterward, you do the suck in 3 rear guard, stick a card from hand in there, and then you ride something, which if you have the other no-life king, it's now, you can repeat that. On future turns, which is a consistent form of pressure and one that is self-contained. You don't need multiple cards to get this to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, let's say if your only grade 3s are No Life King and Demon Eater, both of them are, ways to punch the opponent's lights out if you get them off the first No Life King.
Mm-hmm.
That's my hypothesis. What do you think?
Restanding with big numbers and a guard restrict. That's literally the only thing I could think of.
I think that's
so. We talked about the deer. We talked about how we thought the deer was slow.
Mm-hmm.
No Life King is actually slow in standard.
Yeah.
Because you have to soul charge up to 13 and it takes forever?
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the cards soul charge 1.
Mm-hmm.
Except,
Werewolf.
Yeah.
Because soul charge too.
You have to, like, ride the correct things, like, up to it, too.
Yeah.
Like-
Bum, 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 bum.
I don't know. The whole deck is just, like, obnoxiously slow.
It seems like a hot mess, but the things don't lie. We had 5 Dark Irregulars, and you have 4 of them in the top 4.
Yeah, I mean, this was teams, right?
Yes. So that we have some of the records for the each deck itself in the top 4. Like the OTT guy in first place was 5-2, and the Kagero guy in first place was 7-0. We don't have any of the numbers for Dark Irregulars, so for all we know, this could be hot garbage. But who knows?
Yeah, like, we don't know how they were carried, but, like, I just don't think the deck looks that good. Like,
I don't think the deck is particularly great either.
I think it had huge implications for premium. I think the premium deck is insane,
Yes.
but I don't think the standard deck is even. I just don't. I think there's zero reason to play the deck. Like, I would not even sleeve it up and take it to a tournament.
That's yeah, makes sense. That's
Like,
why
I'm
doing premium only for that reason with DIs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the DI deck is nuts. But, like, I just think you can't come up with a reason why to play it over OTT or even play it over Grand Blue, except to say, "Oh, I like playing DI." Like,
Yeah.
and
Can you blame them?
if that's you, that's fine, right? Like, but if your goal is to, like, win the event, right? I just don't think it's justifiable to play Dark Rollers in standard.
All right. So why don't we take?
And even as a Protect clan, like, even as, like, a Protect clan, just because, like, OT just does it better.
Yep.
Who wore it best?
Who wore it best?
Who wore
Turns
it
out OTT did.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there are, like, more reasonable decks in standard now that AL4 has hit somehow.
Well, again, larger sample size, more options, more people playing different things. Here's another one. So we have I hope I pronounced this right. Iwamizawa? I got that wrong, didn't I? Hashtag whiteness. So the VGCS, so it was a standard tournament, 41 people. So it was a larger sample size than either of the previous 2, not counting teams. But so the top 4 is Murakumo, OTT, Shadow Paladin. And the clan distribution, you have 12 Shadow Paladin, 7 OTT, 5 Kagero, 5 Pale Moon, 4 Royal Paladin, 2 Grand Blue, 2 DIs, 2 Murakumo, and Nova Grappler and Spite Brothers. I don't know who the last, like, at literally all the tournaments. 1 Spite Brothers, 1 Nova Grappler. There's just these 2 guys who go to all the tournaments. They're like, all right, we have to, like...
So this really shows how unpopular Murakumo as a clan and has been.
And how good it
I think
is.
a lot of it is that the character is really obnoxious.
Yes.
Like,
Yes,
I
he
think
is.
Joe is one of the worst characters in the entire anime.
Is that why
Like-
Spite Brothers was so unpopular for so long?
I think Spike Brothers was so unpopular because it's kind of a weird clan. Like, it's not an aesthetic anyone cares about in
Japan.
especially card game players, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I mean,
they're the people who take
I-
your lunch money for playing card games.
Right.
Of course.
So I think Murakumo was, like, an incredibly unpopular clan, but here it is: 2 of 41 people wins the event, beating out many OTT.
Yeah.
7
Yeah.
OTTs, half of them in top 4, of course. 12 Shadow Paladin, 1 in top 4, which is about right. So Shadow Paladin playing about as average as its distribution. DT, again, overperforming. It's just...
2 of 7 is pretty low. It's lower than the rest, but it's still pretty good
Right.
compared to
And
0 and the rest of
Murakumo
it.
crazily overperforming again.
Yeah.
Like, there are 2 Murakumos, one of them just runs the table. When he could have run half, right? It's a 5-round tournament, top 8, so he probably played 8 rounds, won most of them, maybe lost 1 at most, and just ran tables. Pretty good. I like it.
Yeah.
I think that like harkens back to our episode about clan loyalty, where because of the anime, I think just the characters playing whatever clan kind of influences your decision on some level. Maybe more so in some than others. But yeah, it's definitely like Murakumo has been just kicking butt,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's like.
should we
going
bring
all
up the
way to
fact
top.
that, like, the Accel decks that have been successful don't really play, like, traditional Accel decks either.
No, they do not. And what even counts as traditional Accel decks? I feel like we should.
Well, I guess when we think of
freestanding and multi-attacking.
Yeah, when we think of an Accel deck, we're probably thinking like straight aggro, right? Like call a bunch of stuff, make it attack a whole bunch, like restand or eat and spit them out of the soul again, etc. But then, like, Murakumo has like superior calling to fill up the board, which is like half of that, but then the bigger puzzle piece is it has a really strong control element by cutting off grade 3s. So you could argue it plays more like a protect deck because you're using this major control element to...
And what's crazy... Oh, sorry.
No, I was, like, almost finished. I was just about to say, like, it uses a big control element to control the pace of the game.
I think what's crazy, too, is, like, you know how Murakumo was, like, topped an event, won an event, and we're still going to see low Murakumo numbers. Like, throughout a lot of these tournaments, like, the Murakumo play rate is still incredibly low.
Well, for now, we are. I think if they keep winning events, it's going to go up, kind of like what we saw in Night Rose in Giero when that was good. Because originally it was like, it's winning, but I don't give a shit. And then people were like, oh, this is good. I should probably learn how to play it.
And I think it's just going to be slow for people to pick it up because they're still like, it's Murakumo, right? Like, people don't have, like, a strong attachment to this clan at all.
No.
Like, the clan is kind of like the aesthetics, like, whatever. Like, there's not...
So
the character who plays it is a fucking dweeb. Like...
Or just an obnoxious asshole.
There's just not a lot to like about this guy. But with that being said, like, the deck is fine. Like, play it, do it.
I think Murakumo also it like captures the almost attained potential of Tachikaze, which it had a resource engine, which means that you could power your Accel circles fairly easily.
Yeah.
But it didn't have something as like wacky as, oh, you can't ride and you can't stand either. Like, the finishing thing, quote unquote, was the damage pane, I guess, but you don't really use that for what it is. It's mostly just you kill a thing with a lot of gauges on it with Death Rex, so you're hitting for like 62k. Which is not a bad way to finish, but it's not it's not this, like, you know, Benny Hill wacky, oh, you give me 3 damage, I'm gonna punch your face in. Cool. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, Tachikaze plays kind of like a force deck, which means it's not really good enough to overcome Protect because, you know.
I mean, it does well for what it does, and I'm gonna rep it as long as I rep it. But it, you know, judging by these numbers, it's either not showing up at all or underperforming, and by that we mean not performing at all. All right, wait, that was that. There was another one. Oh, no, that was another team one. I wanted to look at one more before we shut this off. So, alright, D-Cup tournament, standard 48 teams. So first you have Grand Blue, OTT, and Shadows. Kagura, OTT, Shadows. Royal Paladin, Spikes, OTT, and Shadows, OTT, and Spikes. Seems to be a pattern. Yeah, so clan distribution, 34 Shadows, 34 OTT, 24 Kagura, 10 Murakumo, 9 Royal Paladin, 9 Spikes, 7 Pale Moon, 5 Dark Regulars, 4 Grand Blue, 3 Dimension Police, 2 Nova Grappler, 1 Tachikaze, 1 Magic Colony, 1 Aqua Force. My lungs.
Man, Murakumo not showing up this time, though.
Yeah, but again, that's like 3 out of 4. It's pretty good.
Yep.
And also, this is a case of teams where, you know, it's... that can, like, there's the thing of variance where, like, let's say his teammates sucked, or who knows. But there is an OTT on every single team in the top 4.
Yep.
It's like,
weird. I think if you have a team event and you don't have OTT on the team, like, did you even show up to win?
This seemed to be a thing where, like, for a while people are like, if you're not running a team with Kaguro and OTT, then you're not gonna win. And this seems...
That could still be true, but maybe you can replace that with Shadow Paladin now.
Yeah, because 3 of the teams have Shadows. I
think the road game, like, so I think Murakumo is also kind of dangerous to put on the team too, because, like, you're really just aiming to put Murakumo in that OTT slot, right?
In all but one of the top three, the OTT slot was slot 2.
All right. So apparently you need to start jamming Murakumo in slot 2.
Yeah. Well, so like when we've done team tournaments in the past, what have we done? We've like tried to get inside the minds of other people. Like where do people put certain clans? And the general consensus is you put your meta pick in slot 1, you put your weird pick in slot 3, and slot 2 you can do whatever you want with. And this doesn't.
Slot 3 matches are the best if everyone does that, because then you get like weird shit like I don't even know. You just get wacky shit. Well, like that's when you get like David playing his like DI deck.
Yeah.
Just like
the last team tournament I went to, BCS, my tongue. Anyway, so I was the third slot because I was running Pale Moon. This is the end of G era with Dust, right? So I'm like, I'm the weird egg in the basket because this is when Dark Irregulars got their Balam wackadoo stuff, and the other seat was Gear Chronicle. I'm like, okay, you guys go be meta. I'm gonna be stupid. And one of the rounds I played against Bermuda Triangle and got I just got flattened because he goes, yeah, they always put the weird ones in slot 3, so they put me here so that I can kill the less meta decks. I'm like,
all right.
Unexpected. I like it. Good job, sir. I think what?
There is another event that I think is relevant.
Yeah.
And so I think a common complaint people can have is that these tournaments are fairly early in AL4's release.
Yeah.
So one argument can be made that Murakumo is like, people just don't know how to play against it, for example. But there was a WGP in Singapore, even as recent as last weekend, with over 300 people.
Okay.
Where first and second were both Murakumo.
Really?
Yes.
Well, dang.
So I think the deck has legs.
Yeah, Murakumo, Shadow Paladin, OTT.
Which means one of them even beat a Shadow Paladin. So
I would love to see what that breakdown is, but I'm sure it was too big of a sample size for them to write it down.
300-person event is pretty large stuff.
Yeah.
The only downside I actually have with this is that it's actually a Bushi official event, right?
Yeah. So
best of ones, etc., which makes me like it less somehow. I don't know, but man, I still think it's like a pretty important result.
I do also think that like you should take what we say with a grain of salt, because right next to the WGP Singapore was a BCS London from last weekend, English standard, 245 people.
Well, that doesn't have Murakumo in it though.
Yeah, but what are we trying to build a narrative here or something?
Well, I was talking about Murakumo.
Okay,
because we were talking about AL4, and English tournaments don't have AL4 in them. Was the point? But yeah, OTT is crushing English.
Yeah.
Absolutely crushing English. Chicago had 6 in top 8. London had 3 in top 4.
Yeah.
Like, it is gross. English standard in Singapore had 2 OTT, and like both the top two was both OTT. OTT won Houston, had another in top 4. Like, OTT is crushing English.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hopefully this changes with AL4 coming out in English in next month. Man, September's going by really fast.
Right? I need to order more Kumo cards, apparently.
Although when they hear this, it will be October, so happy October, everybody. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but, like... So, can this be attributed not only to more clans being available, so thus a larger sample size of people playing things, or is it just Murakumo's that good? And
I mean, I think the deck has legs, is my point. Like, I think, like, if you want to play something... Like if you think, like, so let's say that Murakumo does have a positive matchup again, a favorable matchup against OTT, which seems to be what people agree on.
It seems to be a check, not a counter, but a check.
Yeah, it seems to be favorable, which is kind of what we're looking for, right? Let's say even as high as like 55-45. That's maybe an overestimate, right? But maybe that's your matchup, right? Mm-hmm. If you expect to play OTT like almost every round in an event, or like in early rounds, maybe just leverage skill, I think Murakumo is a good choice.
So does that make it meta or anti-meta?
Well, I mean, it's meta.
Yeah. Like,
what do you mean by, like, anti-meta is probably not a good discussion at the current moment.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, I think the deck is a viable choice in an event. So I think like we now have like up to 4 viable choices of decks at an event.
So no tier
which
0.
is pretty good. Yeah, well, I think, I mean, it's difficult for me to say if OTT. I think OTT is still very good, like, but I think that now there's like a reasonable thing, reasonable thing to play that kind of is against it, like play against OTT. Instead of just having an obnoxious force versus protect matchups where you just kind of have to navigate that.
Yeah. Or the mirror matches, which if you check out our Twitter at Nexus at Night, there's a meme I posted where it was like what the three mirror matches are like.
Yeah, that got a lot of likes. My phone was blown up.
Yeah, mine too. I was like, huh.
Thanks, Atlas.
You're welcome. I
love getting infinite notifications.
I mean, you can always like turn off notifications. It's not.
I just assumed somebody else would do it, so I didn't do it.
Oh. Okay. I don't know. I quite enjoyed the meme, so it's.
Yeah, no. I like the protect one the most. The two Metapod just Metapod. He's hiding. Did that fight ever end?
I don't think it. I think one of like Misty or Brock comes.
Oh no, Team Rocket showed up. Right. Of course.
Right.
Of course they did. And then a Metapod got thrown at somebody, and then it hatched.
Yeah, into Butterfree. Because like someone's holding Metapod when it evolves, and it's like, oh shit, it's Butterfree.
And then like 3 episodes later, or not 3, like a few episodes later, he has to release Butterfree.
Yeah.
Good times.
Well, first he almost trades it for Raticate, and then he trades back, and then they go to the bottom of the fucking ocean. By the way, that was cool.
Oh right, yeah, I remember that now. They were in the and then the Team Rocket bought the Golden Magikarp.
Yeah, and then what's it called? It evolves into Gyarados. Oh man, spoilers for a 20-year-old anime episode. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, man, people are gonna ruin their cartoons.
Yeah.
Man, I forgot about that. That was pretty good.
I hate when people get mad at spoilers when it's over, 5 years old. I'm like, dude, come on. Someone got mad at me for spoiling Back to the Future 2.
What? That movie sucks anyway. They didn't want to watch it.
I was like, the thing was something about, I think it was like the end of the movie.
I think we start spoiling really old movies for people, just randomly in conversation.
It was his sled.
You know what's weird?
It's just
is that's
sled.
not even a spoiler for the movie. That's the worst part. Like, it's not even a spoiler for the movie.
It was his sled from when he was a kid.
It tells you like this thing, but like it doesn't. Like the movie is so much more than that. It doesn't actually matter, so it's fine.
There, I just saved you 2 long boobless hours. Can I go home?
Except you didn't.
I mean, that was just. Oh man, fucking 10-year-old Family Guy references. Sweet.
Right?
Yeah. Anyway.
Nobody watches that anymore.
Anyway, so yeah, rock paper scissors mechanic. I do think that Bushiroad is the ship is starting to right itself in standard.
Yeah.
And it looks like Gold Paladin is going to have some calling as well, so hopefully it'll be nice. Although Neonectar looks hype as fuck.
Yeah. The plant token and they're so fucking cute.
Oh my
god!
Right? I want to play with plant tokens, to be honest.
I might play Neonectar just because the plant tokens are really cute.
I mean,
also, I'm all for having more mechanics that break card fight area.
Yeah, please. It's too bad Vanguard Zero is going to not play the actual game.
Right? I wonder why that is.
At least speed dueling in Duel Links is like half of OG Yu-Gi-Oh! This isn't even like half of Vanguard. This is just...
Whoa, to be fair, Duel Links is 3/5 of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Mm-hmm.
I'm not touching it. Yeah.
What, you have 3 of 5 columns.
No, I get it's just nothing.
Okay.
So yeah, ship is starting to right itself. I cannot wait until we do the ultra rare set review because I think we might bring Gabe and Richard on, and that's going to be interesting.
Oh no!
I know.
This is going to be something else.
Yeah, and I can't wait. But maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. All you got to do is keep listening.
The other set in there.
What?
Angel Feather. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we can finally get our friend James here.
Impossible. Actually impossible.
James is our friend from college who we have asked to be on the podcast at least 20 times, and he refuses. He's always like, I don't know enough.
No, literally every time.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know enough. I'm like, what are you talking? I barely know anything.
Like, Matt and I barely play this game anymore.
Shh, don't tell
Whoa.
them that. We're trying to craft a narrative or something. I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna buy Mirakumo cards.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy into Pale Moon because I already bought Atlas's stuff.
I'll buy into Mirakumo. It'll be great.
I bought into.
I'd be okay with it. I like ninjas.
Why not? Seems like a cheap, effective deck for what it is. All right. That was pretty much it on the whole rock paper scissors thing. You can find us on Twitter at Nexus at Night, as I mentioned earlier. You can find me at Atlas Novak.
Find me at Wiggins, 2Gs, 2Zs.
Find me at Plasma Eclipse.
And check out our Instagram for more stupid memes about fucking mirror matches and other
That's a good meme.
Like how I got...
Well, sure.
I mean, I got my last SVR Baskirk, so that's the type of stuff you see on Instagram.
You're fully there. Do you have all your ORs too?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm doing OR Death Rexes for Premium Tachikaze, but I'm not doing Ruin Shade.
I'm gonna get OR Fushimis because both the cards look terrible, so I might as well get the OR.
Sounds awesome. All right, until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm still Matt.
And I'm Root Beer.
And have a good night, everybody.